So welcome you all in today's address on the subject software engineering. And today's our introduction lecture. So again, I welcome to joining this particular online session. And I hope that you are excited to learn the entire semester courses along with this very interesting course, software engineering. This is going to be used in your all subjects life cycle and even in your future if you plan to remain in IT. But nevertheless, even if you're not in IT, the software engineering life cycle is something which you can look forward to in all aspects of your life even. Okay, so with your permission, should we start, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So these are the course objectives which we will gradually discuss in our upcoming lectures until you understand some basics about the course. I will be sharing you the syllabus on the WhatsApp group, so don't worry about that. Okay, but in general, you can just see on the screen. Okay, you can take a while so that you understand what is in the first unit. So we have got introduction, which consists of the nature of the software, software engineering, software process, engineering best practices, a generic process model, prescriptive process models, the waterfall model, incremental process models, evolutionary process models, concurrent process models, specialized process models, the formal methods model, the unified personal agile principles, sprint lifestyle, Scrum roles and events. So basically, what is software? What is software engineering? What is process engineering? Everything you will be understanding apart from the different process models which are named on the screen, which I just spoke about. Okay, so we are going to see every process model mentioned on the screen in detail. Okay, and you are going to apply that in one of the case studies, which you plan to execute or maybe provided by your um, course teacher. Fine. So I would recommend, since it is the first lecture itself, try to analyze any problem. Okay, because this is a subject of computer engineering and IT, not restricted to only IT, but since you might have learned design principles, okay, design engineering, so you know what design engineering is. I would like you to please write some steps of design engineering if you have remembered on the chat box so that I understand that you recollect those statements and the phases. So the first phase is ideate. So, you know, the idea on which you plan to work. So when you join a company, maybe the company will give you their problem statements, okay, the projects on which their clients have given them the problem statements, and those you have to execute on whatever protocol they give you and the parts to be covered. But right now, I would suggest you design a problem statement, है ना? अभी तक आपने इतने सारे problems देखे होंगे आपके first year में. This is your second year, first semester. So probably you might have come across certain design problem. आपने अपने exhibitions में भी आपने अपने design thinking के problem statements दिए थे. You can take those problem statements. या कुछ ऐसे कभी आपने सोचा होगा कि अरे ये ऐप में ऐसा हो सकता है, ये वेबसाइट में ऐसा होता तो कितना अच्छा होता. You understand, या ये process ऐसी होती तो इतनी अच्छी होती. Try to identify those problem statements. Okay, and you will be trying to analyze that through SDLC life cycle. SDLC is software development life cycle, which we will be checking out in the next unit probably. ठीक है, तो शुरुआत करते हैं कि चलो अभी इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज सीखते हैं तो अल्फाबेट्स क्या होते हैं. सिमिलरली सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग में पहले सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग के 2 वर्ड्स, सॉफ्टवेयर एंड इंजीनियरिंग। ठीक है, तो पहले हम इसको इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज में समझने की कोशिश करते हैं। डिक्शनरी वर्ड। सो व्हाट इज अ सॉफ्टवेयर? इफ एनीबडी वुड लाइक टू स्पीक अप, आप स्क्रीन पे देख के भी बोल सकते हैं, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। नो वन? Okay, somebody has written the steps of design thinking in the chat. Emphasize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Very good. So, Mayur Prasad probably remembers the step. Yes, I understand you guys are reluctant in answering on screen, but don't worry, it's a learning process. You will become more and more confident if you interact, and whatever you interact, you will never forget. Otherwise, it becomes like a boring one side. I'm speaking and you are listening. But in first year, you have studied about C and C++. At least that much you can give me a thumbs up. These programming languages, C, C++, Java, whatever it is, at least one soft programming language. Okay. So that programming language is nothing but an English-like statements. Now, what are in zeros and ones which computer understand? Then we go one step ahead. That's assembly language, which is coded language, much more simpler than zeros and ones, but still it's a more difficult to program if there are many lines of code. So we come to higher level language. Okay. So lower level language is assembly language with codes. Higher level language is like C++, Java, Python, which are more like English-like statements. Okay, so you can give instructions to the code. So you can give instructions to the code and to the computer, and the computer will work it as if it's human. It will give you the output accordingly. Okay, but writing that code in high-level language also has a protocol. Okay, so that to write a code, you need a higher level language and the application layer of the software, right? For example, you have got a lower level zeros and ones, then you have got middle level, that is assembly language, and then you have a high level language, correct? So the zeros and ones is directly connected to the hardware, whereas the upper level, high level language is directly connected to the application programmer or you as a writer of the code. You understand? So, so if you want to write a hardware type of code, then you have to study the embedded systems and the assembly language, pseudocode. But if you are application programmer, then high level languages you should master. So a software is nothing but a set of computer programs. Now I come to the definition just coming on the screen. It's a computer programs that provides functionality and performs desired tasks. Okay, so you have learned a C language where you write a function to add two numbers. So that's a function, okay, where you give two inputs and it will give you the output as the addition of two numbers. Okay, so similarly, if you want to write, if you want to execute a function which has a higher objective, then you may require set of programs to complete your task. Okay, so that is nothing but a software. And what software contains? It contains instructions. So if you write int a comma b in C language, and then you write C is equal to a plus b, that is nothing but the two instructions which you are giving to the computer programmer, that first we declare the variables and then we compute using ALU. ALU is arithmetic and logic unit. You all know that computer components are what? Input, CPU, and output. And what is the CPU consists of? It consists of memory, control unit, and ALU. I hope you are aware of this computer dhacha, which you might have learnt in school also. Yes? Anyone who is not aware? So I'll repeat. Otherwise, I'll assume that whatever I said relates to you. Okay, I got something on the chat. Screen stuck. Maybe a network issue from your end. Is anybody also facing that the screen is stuck? If your network is slow, then probably you might face that problem. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the feedback. Yeah. So what is software is clear. If it's not clear, please write it in the chat box. If you are finding hesitant to speak, I don't mind if you don't speak, but then I would appreciate, okay, if you speak up. Okay. Any question is okay with it. You are a learner, and I assume you don't know anything about software engineering. So it's absolutely fine if you ask the question. Okay. But if you're hesitant to speak up, write in the chat box. Otherwise, I'll assume and I'll go ahead. Okay. So data structures you might be learning in this semester. So data structures are used to manipulate the information. For example, there is one data structure called as stack. Stack is first in, last out. Okay. So if you have written functions, now if there is a function inside a function, you might have used nested functions also if you would have gone to advanced C programming. So a function inside a function is an inside a function. Which function should be executed first? The outermost or the innermost? Please write in the chat box. और फॉर एग्जाम्पल नेस्टेड इफ के अंदर इफ डाला है आपने, है ना? इफ आई लिव इन सिटी पुणे, देन इफ आई वर्क at MIT ATT, then if I have this much couple of experience, then I am on the scale of a professor. So if के अंदर if, तो कौन सा if सबसे पहले एग्जीक्यूट होता है? सबसे पहले सबसे इनर मोस्ट एग्जीक्यूट होता है, वेदर इट इज एन इफ और वेदर इट इज अ फंक्शन. ठीक है. अभी लेकिन प्रोग्राम को कैसे समझ में आता है कि सबसे अंदर का के बाद उसके ऊपर वाला एग्जीक्यूट करना है, उसके ऊपर वाला एग्जीक्यूट करना है. सो वी मेंटेन अ डेटा स्ट्रक्चर कॉल्ड स्टैक. आई ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू स्टैक इज फर्स्ट इन लास्ट आउट. तो जो फर्स्ट इन होगा मतलब जो आउटर मोस्ट इफ होगा वो सबसे पहले गया, उसके बाद उसके अंदर वाला इफ का एड्रेस गया, उसके बाद उसके इनर मोस्ट वाले इफ का एड्रेस गया. तो जब सबसे इनर मोस्ट इफ एग्जीक्यूट हुआ तो ऊपर वाला पॉपअप हुआ. तो पॉपअप हुआ तो उसके बाद स्टैक में एड्रेस आया बीच वाला. तो उसके पास विदाउट इवन मेकिंग द एरर वो गलती से भी आउटर मोस्ट इफ के तरफ नहीं जा पाएगा जब तक वो बीच वाले इफ को एग्जीक्यूट करके बाहर नहीं निकलता. उसको सबसे आउटर वाले इफ का एड्रेस नहीं समझ में आएगा. तो आई जस्ट गिव यू एन एग्जांपल दैट व्हाट इज डेटा स्ट्रक्चर. Okay, it is the way how you store the information. So there are different types of data structure. I just introduced you to one data structure. Of course, you have got a separate subject in detail. तो मैंने आपको एक छोटा सा data structure introduce किया, that is stack, which implements on the theory of last in first out. And I gave you the example of functions and nested functions and nested if. कि if के अंदर if, function के अंदर function. Are you able to relate or should you want me to repeat this concept? See, if you're not understanding the concept, I'm going to share the recording to you, okay? And you can rewind so that, we don't make the lecture too lengthy because there might be certain slow learners, there might be certain advanced learners, okay? But even though if somebody responds that, okay, ma'am, repeat, I will definitely do that. And it doesn't mean that if I share the recording, that means you do not have to sit in the lecture, because when we are interactive, trust me that learning is of different experience. Okay. So documents that describes the operation and the use of the program. So in C language, you might have written the comments. Why comments have to be written? Comments are written because if you only as a programmer see your code 6 months down the line, you will not understand why this function was written. Okay, function add two numbers is just 4 to 5 lines code. But if just a function has 1,000 lines of code, you might not even remember by the name of the function also that what exactly in detail this 1,000 lines of code is doing. So you need to document it by commenting the code in between. Also, you need to prepare a document uh, in related to that particular code in detail. That can be shared as a handout to the client also. That can be shared to your application programmer also. Because see, if you're working on a project, that can be 20 members. So every 20 members should be knowing the manual of the particular software and the problem statement they are supposed to work, okay, with their own milestones and deliverables. Okay, so some of the software examples which we have already worked is nothing but operating system, internet browser, movie player, antivirus, games, okay, and lot other applications. They are endless. You are already using it. It's just that probably you have not gone into detail to understand the software coding, because some codings are they are secured. Okay, the code is not visible. They are not open source, because if they everything if they leak, then their patenting would be of no use, and then everybody will be, so every company has their own copyrights and patents and trademarks and technology transfer to protect it. Okay, so if Windows 10 is there, Windows 10 will leak if all the code, then there's of no use. So people started open source called Linux. Okay, so but still Windows couldn't have overpowered them also in today's date. We find Linux a bit more difficult to use, depends upon user to user. Okay, so I hope you're relating to the software examples you have already used. So it's nothing new to you. Okay, so now it is your turn, that as a software engineer, you are a user. No, you have to be a developer. You should be able to, as an engineer, develop a software. And for that, this subject is introduced. Okay, and hence its importance. So, see, if there is a client and a project manager. So in a company, you've got a project manager, you've got a project leader, you've got a director, you have different positions. Then you have got a coder, then you've got a system programmer. Okay, you can take this as a homework and check out what are the different positions which are used in SDLC lifecycle. Okay, on a single software project in a company. Okay, so these will be the names which we will be popping out in lot of platforms. That is project manager, project leader, then system programmer, then the coder, okay, the application programmers, and so on. So when the client approaches the company, okay, mainly it is led by the marketing first, and then it is handed over to the project manager. And project manager is a person who has technical knowledge as well as communication with the client. Whereas technical leader is totally a person who will be focusing on the software part. So he's a technical guy. Whereas a project manager has a technical knowledge, but at the superficial level, he's not a coder, but he will be acting as an interface. Project manager will be acting as an interface between the client and the project manager. So he will get the project from the client and deliver to the project manager. But see, कई बार वो टेलीफोन टेलीफोन वाला गेम हो जाता है. आपको पता है टेलीफोन टेलीफोन वाला गेम, कि जिसने पहले वाले ने जो सेंटेंस बोला, जब वो 20th पर्सन तक पहुंचा, तो वो सेंटेंस का मीनिंग ही चेंज हो जाता है. समझ में आया? अगर क्लाइंट ने बोला ए, प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर ने समझा बी, और जब उसने टेक्निकल लीडर को बताया, तो प्रोजेक्ट लीडर ने समझा सी, फिर उसने कोडर को बताया, कोडर ने समझा डी, तो क्लाइंट ने बताया ए, कोडर को समझा डी. तो there's so much of miscommunication. Did you understand how funny it is? If there is a miscommunication, आप पूरे 1 साल एक प्रोजेक्ट कर रहे हो, और आपको पता चलता है कि क्लाइंट ने तो ए बताया था, आपने तो कोड किया आउटकम डी. How many of you find this funny? Can you just put the thumbs up? At least I will understand that you're listening. How many of you find this funny? No one? Okay, I think you find it serious. Okay, good. At least some people are attentive. But it is funny, yes, but no doubt it is serious also. Because we are paying employees per month salary. And after 1 year, if we understand that there was such a big miscommunication that the outcome expected by the client was A and the developer developed the outcome as D. So there will be a major loss to the company and the stake of the software. Okay, you understand? So this particular slide tells you that what customer visualizes, he explains, what the project manager sees, then you know how it goes. See how it goes. ये क्या दिखाने की कोशिश कर रहा था, ये बनाना है, यहाँ पे तो ब्लैंक ही हो गया एंड डॉक्यूमेंट में तो ये दिख ही नहीं रहा है और फाइनली ये कस्टमर को क्या मिला बिलिंग। समझ में आया? तो ये नहीं होना चाहिए। इसीलिए सारी कंपनीज जो है वो सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग लाइफ साइकिल को बहुत अच्छे से समझती है। दे डोंट वांट टू गो इनटू a disaster because there is a stake of crores incorporated in developing a software, right? So that's the whole thing. So I would like to uh, give a break and we will start the new session after 5 minutes, okay, where I would end up this session on introduction of what is software, okay, what we'll be covering in the software engineering unit 1, okay, then what is data structure, what is instructions, applicability of data structure through stack, you know, using LIFO method, that is last in first out, and what is documentation and why it is necessary, that we discussed, okay. Then we also discussed the different examples of software and the software process, where we discuss the client, project manager, project lead, coder, and the importance of each. Correct? So I would like to end this short session over here, and then we'll proceed with another session on the role of a product, okay, with a case study, different types of software applications, and system software. Okay, so different types of, software applications and different types of software we will be studying in brief in the upcoming lecture. So stay tuned. Okay, this is Dr. Aisha Butalia. Thank you for your patience listening. If you have any doubts, you can post questions. No problem.